Okay, let's dive in. We're setting the scene, spring 1453. And we're looking at, well, one of the most pivotal sieges in all of history.
Absolutely.
Just try to picture this city, Constantinople. It's rising right out of the Bosphorus. Stunning, right?
Yeah.
And it's guarded by these absolutely massive walls. The Theodosian triple walls, 1,000 years old.
Yeah, incredible structures, scarred by time, sure, but they were seen as, well, basically impregnable for centuries. It was the fortress.
Guardian of this immense legacy, stretching all the way back to ancient Rome.
It really was. But, behind those amazing walls, the city itself, it wasn't what it once was. Maybe fewer than 50,000 people living there, weeds in the forums, apparently. Bit of a ghost town feel in places.
Fewer than 50,000, wow. Compared to the army outside.
Exactly. That contrast just sets up the whole story, doesn't it?
It really does. And that's our mission today, right? To really get into this final siege. How did this supposedly unbeatable fortress finally fall?
And maybe more importantly, why is this one event, this single siege, so often pointed to as, like, the moment the medieval world ended?
The stakes were just unbelievably high.
Yeah.
And the mismatch, it's stark.
Oh, completely. On one side, you've got Sultan Mehmed II. He's barely 21 years old.
21.
Yeah, young, ambitious, brilliant. And he's leading this huge Ottoman army, maybe 80,000 strong, disciplined, well-equipped, focused.
And facing him.
Emperor Constantine XI Palaiologos, the last Roman emperor, really. And he has maybe 7,000 defenders total.
7,000 against 80,000.
It's desperate. A mix of his own Byzantine soldiers, some Genoese mercenaries under commander we'll talk about, and just ordinary citizens pressed into service.
And crucially for you listening, they were alone. Constantine begged the West for help, didn't he?
Repeatedly. But nothing significant came. The split between the Orthodox East and the Catholic West, the Great Schism from centuries before.
Still too deep.
Yeah. Politics and religion meant that basically Western Europe let the last remnant of the Roman Empire face the storm alone.
So Mehmed arrives with this overwhelming force. But it wasn't just about numbers, was it? You mentioned he brought something new?
Right. He knew the history. He knew those walls had stood for 1,000 years against everything thrown at them. He needed something different. A game changer.
And that's where this idea of industrial destruction comes in. This wasn't just another siege.
Not at all. This is where technology shifts the balance completely. We have to talk about this Hungarian engineer, Urban.
Urban and his bombard. Tell us about this thing. Was it really that revolution?
Oh, absolutely. Forget hyperbole. This weapon essentially made stone walls obsolete overnight. It was a monster cannon. Bronze, iron. 27 feet long.
27 feet. How do they even move it?
With enormous difficulty. Took something like 200 men and teams of oxen just to drag it into position.
And the firepower.
It fired stone balls that weighed, get this, over 1,200 pounds.
1,200 pounds. What did that do to the walls?
It wasn't just about punching holes, though it did that. It was the sheer impact, the shock wave. The sources say the ground shook. Plaster rained down inside the city. The ancient mortar just couldn't take that kind of constant, brutal pounding day after day.
So April turns into May, and it's just this relentless thunder. Boom, boom, boom.
Nonstop. And you have to picture the defenders desperately trying to patch things up after each barrage. They're using anything, timber, rubble, earth, stones pulled from ruined churches nearby.
Frantically building makeshift inner walls behind the breaches, too, I read. Creating death traps.
Exactly. And it wasn't just on the surface. Below ground, Mehmed's engineers, his sappers, were digging tunnels, trying to mine under the walls.
But the Byzantines were fighting back there, too.
Oh, yeah, desperately. They had their own miners listening, digging counter tunnels. They'd flood the Ottoman tunnels, sometimes collapse them with fire. It was this constant, exhausting, three-dimensional battle, holding on by a thread.
Okay, so the land walls are taking a horrific beating, but they're still holding, largely thanks to this incredible effort. Where does Mehmed find the weak spot? How does he break their will?
He looks to the sea, to the Golden Horn. That's the city's big, sheltered harbor, vital.
And it was protected, right, by a massive chain.
A huge chain, yeah, stretched right across the entrance. For centuries, that chain meant the harbor was safe. No enemy warship could get past it. That flank was considered secure.
So how did he get past it? Seems impossible.
This is where Mehmed's genius, or maybe just his sheer audacity, comes in. He decided if he couldn't go through the chain, he'd go around it.
Around it? How?
Overland. His engineers built this incredible roadway, basically greased wooden planks laid over the hills behind the Genoese colony of Galata, which was technically neutral.
Wait, they built a road?
A temporary road, yes.
Yeah.
And then, under the cover of darkness, they hauled 70 Ottoman ships, fully rigged ships, up the hill, over the crest, and down the other side, relaunching them directly into the Golden Horn.
They dragged 70 ships overland.
Over.
That's unbelievable.
Isn't it? Imagine the defenders waking up that morning, looking out at the harbor that was supposed to be safe, and seeing dozens of enemy warships just sitting there.
The psychological shock must have been immense.
Devastating. But the strategic impact was immediate, too. Constantine's tiny force, those 7,000 men, they were already stretched thin on the land walls now.
Now they had to defend miles of harbor walls as well.
Exactly. Walls that were never designed for a heavy assault because the chain was supposed to handle it. And those Genoese and Venetian ships trapped inside the harbor, suddenly they're caught between Ottoman forces on land and sea. It completely broke the defensive strategy.
So the city's starving, supplies are dwindling, the defenses are stretched to breaking point, hope is fading. This sets the stage for Mehmed's final push.
Right. And he plans it carefully. It's not just one big chaotic rush. It's designed specifically for attrition, to wear down the last dregs of resistance.
Layered attacks.
Yes, a three-wave system. First, he sends in the irregulars, the Bashi Bazouks. These guys were motivated mostly by loot. They weren't his best troops.
Cannon fodder, basically.
Pretty much. Their job was to charge wildly, absorb the defenders' arrows and energy, tire them out, maybe find a weak spot through sheer numbers, but mainly just to die and exhaust the enemy.
Brutal. And after they pulled back?
Then came the second wave. His regular, disciplined Anatolian infantry. Better trained, better equipped, they pressed the attack against the now weary defenders.
But even they weren't the final blow.
No, he held his best troops in reserve. The elite corps. The Janissaries.
Yeah, the Janissaries.
Yeah.
Instantly recognizable in their white felt caps.
Exactly. Slave soldiers raised from childhood to be loyal only to the Sultan. Probably the finest infantry in the world at that time. They were kept fresh, waiting for the moment the defense finally started to crack. Ready to deliver the killing blow.
And the defense did crack. There was a specific moment, wasn't there? A turning point involving the Genoese commander.
Giovanni Giustiniani Longo. Yes. He was absolutely critical. Stationed at the St. Romanus Gate sector, which was taking the worst of the bombardment. The sources call him the soul of the defense.
He was everywhere. Rallying the troops.
Constantly, plugging gaps in the rubble, organizing counterattacks, inspiring everyone by example. He was holding it together, almost single-handedly, it seems sometimes. Until disaster struck. Just sheer bad luck, really. A stray shot, maybe an arrow, maybe an early musket ball. Accounts differ. Found a gap in his armor.
Hit him badly.
Not instantly fatal, it seems, but the pain was apparently excruciating. He couldn't continue.
And Constantine the Emperor, he pleaded with him to stay, right?
Yeah.
Knowing how important he was.
Begged him. Knew that Giustiniani just being there, visible on the wall, was worth hundreds of men in terms of morale. But Giustiniani insisted on being carried away to find a surgeon.
And the effect of seeing him leave.
Catastrophic. As he was carried off the ramparts, the men who saw it, their morale just evaporated. Instantly. Soldiers who'd fought like lions for weeks suddenly started looking over their shoulders, thinking about escape routes to the harbor. They thought, if he's gone, it's over.
That psychological break paved the way for the end.
It did. The final assault began before dawn on May 29th. The irregulars went in first, as planned, for about 2 hours. More exhaustion tactics.
Then the Janissary.
Then the Janissaries advanced, calmly, methodically, relentlessly, into the breaches. But the actual breakthrough, the killing blow, it wasn't even where the fighting was thickest.
Oh, what happened?
An unbelievable oversight. A small gate, a postern gate called the Kirka Porta, near the northern end of the land walls. It seems it was somehow left unlocked or unbarred in the chaos.
Unlocked, after all that.
It sounds incredible, doesn't it? A small group of Janissaries stumbled upon it, pushed it open, and suddenly they were inside the walls. They quickly overwhelmed the few defenders there and got onto the ramparts.
That one unlocked door.
Undid 1,000 years of defenses. Once they raised the Ottoman flags on that section of the wall, panic spread like wildfire.
And Constantine, when he heard the enemy was inside...
He knew what it meant. He reportedly took off his imperial insignia, the purple boots, perhaps so he wouldn't be captured alive and paraded.
That's it.
Sources have him saying something like, "The city is fallen and I am still alive." Then he drew his sword.
And charged into the fighting.
Yes, right into the thickest melee near the St. Romanus Gate, where his men were making their last stand. He just disappeared into the crush of bodies. A true emperor's death.
His body was never found, was it? or definitively identified.
Never conclusively. Lost in the chaos, the last Roman emperor literally vanished into legend.
By mid-morning, it was over. Ottoman flags flying everywhere.
Mehmed made his triumphal entry, rode straight to the Hagia Sophia, the great cathedral, dismounted, apparently took some earth and sprinkled it on his turban as a sign of humility before God.
And declared it a mosque.
Immediately. There was looting and chaos initially, as you'd expect, but Mehmed fairly quickly ordered a stop to any wholesale slaughter. He needed a living city, not just ruins. Constantinople became Istanbul.
So, let's step back. What does it all mean? It's clearly more than just one city changing hands. You said it marked the end of the medieval world.
I think it genuinely did, in several ways. It wasn't just symbolic, though it was hugely symbolic. It had concrete consequences that rippled outwards.
Like economically?
Definitely. The Ottomans now controlled the Bosphorus, the gateway between the Black Sea and the Mediterranean. They controlled the overland trade routes from the east, the Silk Road's endpoint, the spice trade.
Which the Italian states like Venice and Genoa had dominated.
Exactly. Suddenly, those routes became much more difficult, much more expensive, or just closed off to Europeans. There was this immediate, powerful economic need in Western Europe to find another way to the riches of the East. A sea route.
Which directly fuels the Age of Discovery.
Directly. It pushes Portugal, then Spain, to double down on finding routes around Africa or sailing west. Columbus's voyage just a few decades later isn't conceivable without this context. The fall of Constantinople forces the issue.
And culturally.
Huge impact there, too. As the city was falling, and even before, scholars, intellectuals fled westward, mostly to Italy. And they brought with them their knowledge and, crucially, ancient Greek and Roman manuscripts that had been preserved in Byzantium but were less known in the West.
So this influx of classical learning helped kickstart the Renaissance.
It was definitely a major contributing factor. It added fuel to that intellectual fire that was already starting to glow in Italy, a rediscovery of classical thought, art, philosophy.
And militarily. We talked about the cannon.
Yeah, the siege proved definitively that gunpowder artillery could destroy even the strongest medieval walls. Castle walls that had stood for centuries were now vulnerable. It forced a total rethink of fortification design and the nature of warfare itself. Combined arms, logistics, engineering, it all took a leap forward. The age of gunpowder empires had truly begun.
It's incredible when you boil it down. A city that survived for over 1,000 years, through countless threats, ultimately falls because of one revolutionary weapon and one small unlocked gate. The Kirkaporta.
It really highlights the fragility, doesn't it? Even of things that seem permanent. How innovation, whether it's technological like Urban's bombard or strategic like moving ships overland or even just a single human error, can change the course of history in an instant.
Makes you wonder, doesn't it? Think about what else the world lost when that last link to the old Roman Empire was severed. But also what was gained, maybe unintentionally, from that fall as the world was pushed towards the Renaissance and the Age of Discovery. Something to ponder.